Pasta is one of America's favorite foods. Good morning, taste buds. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Pasta is not only an Italian staple, it's an American staple. Join me today and I'll expand your pasta abilities here on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein, and we are in the Goya kitchen in Coconut Creek, and this is Junior Achievement of South Florida, and we are on SoFlo Taste. Welcome to my pasta party. Today I thought it would be fun to give you some of my most favorite recipes for pasta dishes. So let's get cooking. The first thing I decided to make is gnocchi. Instead of making typical potato gnocchi, I thought it would be a little more interesting and actually easier to make ricotta gnocchi. So any regular ricotta, I would do a full fat ricotta for a better gnocchi. You really want to just put it in some cheesecloth overnight. If you don't have a cheesecloth, just use a strainer. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually drain it overnight. I just threw it in here an hour ago, and all I've been doing is squeezing the liquid out of it. And I think I have it to the point where there's almost no liquid left. And I think I'll be perfectly fine. So we're gonna start out with the ricotta inside of a mixing bowl to make the dough. Now, we want that ricotta to taste good, so we're actually gonna start giving it flavor before we add the egg or the flour to it. So I'm going to salt it pretty heavily. If I had white pepper, I'd probably use it right now, but I never have white pepper on hand, so I'm just gonna use a little black. And I'm gonna give it a nice amount of grated Parmesan or Pecorino, whichever you like best. With a spatula, we're gonna just start folding this together and mixing it so that it is homogeneous before we add the egg and the flour to it. And we're about there. By the way, I have water already simmering. It came to a boil. I brought it down to a simmer so that when we can add the gnocchi to it, it'll cook. I'm adding 2 egg yolks. Let's go ahead and mix that together. You want this to really be fully incorporated into the ricotta and into the Parmesan. All right, lovely. Let's go ahead and add flour. Now, I've asked you for 1.5 to 2 cups of flour. Never start with the whole thing. You want to start little by little. Once the gnocchi or the dough comes together, we're done. So, I'm going to add about half of it and start folding it in with the rubber spatula. I want this to come together using the spatula first, and then I'll bring it together with my hands. All right, we're almost there. So let's feel this. And this is really coming together nice. I'm glad I didn't add more flour to it. I just want to bring the dough together. Let's turn this over onto the table. I decided not to use a cutting board for this because you really want the coolness of the metal unless you have marble or granite. That also works really well for doughs and pasta doughs like this. So we're just going to bring this together nicely. Now, I always have a little bench flour as well, but for this gnocchi, I don't like to get too much flour on my table because I feel like the stress of the metal pushing the gnocchi down really helps me form it. And what I'm doing right now is I'm grabbing all the little crumbs from the table to make sure that I've picked it all up. Next thing you do, we're gonna cut this into about 4 to 5 equal pieces. Bench flour, just a little bit, really lightly put flour down, and let's go ahead and begin rolling. Now, as I roll, I'm actually gonna start making a little brown butter and sage sauce for this. And it really is just brown butter, sage, and salt and pepper. So let me turn on the stove. I have a really large saute pan. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go from the boiling water into the brown butter sauce. So let me just throw some butter into a pan. We'll let that brown while we make the gnocchi. It's that fast and that easy. So let's keep pulling this. Now you can make gnocchi as big or as little as you like. So here is a rope, and we're just gonna slice this up and start cooking. Now if you have a pastry knife, that's great. A dough scraper, great. So I'm gonna cut the gnocchi into little pieces like so. I have a sheet pan here with a piece of paper on it, parchment paper, to throw all the gnocchi onto after I've cut it. And that, my friends, is how you make gnocchi. Can you believe how easy that is? All right, so let's just finish one batch so you can see the whole process. I'll throw some sage into the brown butter, like so. A little bit of salt, a little pepper. That's ready, I'm shutting that off. Let's put the gnocchi into my pot. Now, just so you know, gnocchi, when they float, are pretty much done. Because these are very delicate ricotta gnocchi, I'm gonna let them float, I'm gonna count to 10, and then I'm gonna scoop them out of that water and place them right into that brown butter. You see how they're starting to kind of come up to the top along with the simmering liquid? Okay, I'm gonna count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go right into my butter. Be careful of the splash, there might be a little water. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have beautiful gnocchi in brown butter sage sauce. I'm gonna top it with a little bit of Parmesan and call it a day. See you in a minute so we can taste this together.
Come back to the Goya Kitchen at JA World. Michelle and the food. This is SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. We are here at Junior Achievement of South Florida and Coconut Creek, a place for kids. They are committed to hands-on experimental learning where students can apply that learning in real-world situations. For more information, visit jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to the pasta. Allow me to show you all how beautiful the gnocchi turned out. See that? So it's got the sage, which toasted in the brown butter. I topped it with a little extra cheese, and it's just really lovely. I hope you make this and enjoy it. We are now gonna make a fideua. You can basically make it with any type of seafood that you love. Now look at the array of seafood I've got. We've got today clams and mussels, scallops, shrimp, grouper, calamari. Make sure you visit my friends over at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. You can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go to DelawareChicken.com. Subscribe to their emails. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market is at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. They're located at the corner of 441 in Sterling. Make sure you tell them Michelle sent you. Call them at 954-983-6831. Tell them I love them and I miss them, and I'll see them very soon. We're going to start by cooking, like I said, the seafood. We're going to kind of, what we say, marcarlo. We're going to just sear it a little bit, and then we're going to go and take it out and finish the whole dish together. So I'm just going to start seasoning everything with a little bit of salt and pepper to give it a little extra. Got some black pepper here, but we also have some spices that traditionally go into a fideua. All right, so I have some olive oil in this pan. I've used a pan that really has a lot of surface area, so we can sear a lot of things at the same time. So I'm gonna start with a couple of shrimp. We're gonna go in with some scallops, as well as some of the calamari. But the fish, which takes much less time to cook, will go in a little bit later. I don't feel like I have to sear the fish. Now over here, I have a little bit of fish broth, but you can really use anything. You can even use chicken broth, unless you make your own stocks and you have them at home. This is the perfect time to pull them out. So I have a little pan here. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a lot of the seafood that I have already seared. Oh, it already smells so good in here. If you've never cooked calamari in a saute pan, you should. It actually has one of the best fragrances of any seafood that you will sear. The smell that we have going on in this room right now is actually the calamari. It just smells so darn good. All right, we're gonna start by toasting the pasta in what we call a fond. Fond is all that sticky goodness that was left in that pan after I pulled out the seafood that I seared. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my fideos or noodles. Yeah, that should be enough. Okay. What we wanna do is caramelize the pasta. Let me add a little bit more oil because it really soaks it up. And there's so much flavor in here. This is really where you pick up all the flavor and these noodles start getting really good and caramelized. All right, now that we've started the caramelization process of the noodle, I can start adding some fun stuff in there. So I'm gonna add clams, which take the longest to cook. I've got some canned tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, that I'm gonna add in here. A little bit of their juice too. A little bit of white wine, nice dry white wine. I have a little cayenne. Now I don't want this to be too spicy in your face, so I'm just gonna add the tiniest amount of cayenne. This is my smoked paprika, and I love this to have a little bit of smokiness, so just a touch of that too. Finally, I've got some saffron threads, so I'll add that. A little bit of minced garlic, which normally you would add ahead of time as well as the onions, but because we wanted to caramelize the noodle, I didn't want to burn the onion and the garlic, so I'm going to add it in now. We have plenty of time for that to cook and get really nice and soft. Delicious. Now, the wine is almost dissipated, so I really need that wine to just evaporate, go all the way down. So I want it to completely evaporate before adding any of the stock or broth in there, which it is now gone. Let's add fish broth. And I'm just gonna barely cover it because I wanna keep working the flavor in this. Now these clams should take about 5 to 6 minutes to cook. So what I'm gonna do next, because scallop, shrimp, and the calamari will only take about 2 minutes to cook. So now that the clams have gotten kind of a jump start, I'm gonna add the mussels. So I'm gonna cover this, I'm gonna let it cook for just a couple minutes, and then I'm gonna add my seafood to it, and we will come back and make this beautifully fresh and tasty and irresistible. Come right back for another of my pasta recipes, and remember, all my recipes are available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just scan this quick response code and you'll be whisked off to the SoFlo Show's page. Come right back because I got more. SoFlo Taste will return right after this.
Up right after SoFlo Taste, it's SoFlo Home Project with me, Elena Capra, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. The word pasta is an Italian word, no kidding, meaning paste, referring to the dough the pasta is made from. And speaking of pasta, let's get back to it. So the clams have just opened, the mussels have just opened. Let's go ahead and add the rest of our seafood as well as that fish that I have not seared yet. Place that in there. Remember, I'm using grouper. I felt like I shouldn't really use a very delicate fish like a snapper or a flounder or anything like that because I was worried that it might break apart with my fideos or fideuà. All right, let's just add everything to that. Stir this a little bit. Always have a little bit of broth on the side in case you feel like it needs a little bit. The pasta, by the way, is just cooked through. It's really like right there. This is going to cook in just seconds. For freshness, I'm going to add a nice squeeze of lemon. I feel like it needs just a little bit of butter and a tiny bit more of extra virgin olive oil. And I've got some very roughly chopped Italian parsley right here. Let's add that in. And I feel like by the time this all mixes up together, this beautiful creation should pretty much be cooked through. Let's take a look. I can see that the shrimp is cooked, yes. Scallops are almost there. Calamari definitely is cooked through. And this is just so beautiful. I'm gonna add a little bit of crunchy sea salt to finish right over the top of it. And the fish has just cooked through, and we are ready to serve this to the table. So let's shut off the heat. Let me put that in front of you to show you how beautiful your Fideua or Fideo dish can be. And isn't it gorgeous? I mean, you have this gorgeous, crispy on the bottom, toasty pasta. All the tomatoes have cooked down to make this broth even more delicious. I think we should jump into our last recipe. I've never made a broccoli pesto before. I don't know if you have. I wanted to try it. I love broccoli. My whole family does. My son loves broccoli and pesto, so this is kind of dedicated to him. So let's just jump right in. What I have here is some blanched broccoli. This has been cooked in some boiling salted water for really just 45 seconds because it still has a little bit of a bite to it, because you don't want it to be mushy or your pesto is going to be mushy. I also didn't want to roast it, which I do love the flavor of roasted broccoli, but it would never be this vibrant green color. So this is what we've done. Let's go ahead and add, I've got basil, I've got a little bit of mint and parsley in my food processor already. Now, if you just wanted to go with a straight typical pesto, obviously this could just be the basil, so that nobody is kind of surprised with any other flavors. But the parsley and the mint will be a lovely freshness in the back of your palate, so I think it would be really nice. So we're gonna add broccoli now. I didn't wanna go with all the broccoli we made. This is about a pound. I'm gonna go with probably about 3/4 of it to start. I'm also gonna add, we have here some freshly grated Parmesan, so I'm gonna add some of that in there. I also love a little bit of garlic, traditionally always in my pesto, and I adore a bit of lemon zest. Sometimes pestos have lemon juice, but here I thought it would be yummy just to add some zest. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of kosher salt to this. If you like it spicy, I would add a little bit of some dried crushed chili flake, or you can add fresh chilies in your pesto if you wanted to as well. I would pulse it. I don't think I would just let it run because it might grind it a little too far. It's looking like pesto. Very pretty. Let's take a look. Ooh, this is so pretty. I want them all to see what it looks like right now. Isn't it gorgeous? It looks just like a traditional pesto would. Now, I haven't added any pine nuts, which is traditional to pesto in this. I've decided to go nutless here. But I'm very happy with how it looks so far. So now I'm gonna start adding a little bit of oil to this. Just a little touch while it's running, or pulsing, I should say, to bring it together. And I think I'm gonna stop there. So this is what our pesto looks like. Let's give it a little taste. That is so good. Next, we're gonna go ahead and heat up a little touch of oil and our pasta, which, by the way, I pre-cooked. I decided to go with the long fusilli noodle. Look how pretty this is. So I'm gonna heat these up very slowly, very delicately. In olive oil, they are very al dente when you pre-cook it, right? Because when you heat it back up again, it's gonna overcook even further. So when you come back, we'll heat that up. We'll add our broccoli pesto and see how we do. I'll see you in a minute. SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. I am now heating up this beautiful long fusilli with broccoli pesto. I think it's pretty beautiful. It's beautifully vibrant green. The taste is delicious. I'm sure it tastes even better now that it's warmed through a little bit. Let's go ahead and put this in a serving bowl. These gorgeous long noodles, I just love them. This is wonderful for the whole family. I think we've had a great day filled with all kinds of yummy pasta. Let's go ahead and top this with some fresh grated parm. Now you can always substitute pecorino for Parmesan. And there you have it. Gorgeous. Well, thank you so much for coming along with me today. I hope I've given you some perfecto pasta recipes. They are fun and they are delicious. Next week, I'm hitting the road, maybe not literally, but snackily. Yes, I'm making snacks that go perfectly on a road trip. So join me for the snacks that make the hours in the car or any type of transportation go by even faster on the next SoFlo Taste. Now, let's check in with our talented friend, Elena Capra, host of SoFlo Home Project. What's up, Elena? How are you doing next on SoFlo Home Project?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So today we're going to share with you ways to modernize your home with custom millwork. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we tour a beautifully updated home with lots of character and great millwork details.
Thank you, ma'am. So Taste Buds, thanks for spending another morning with me. I love sharing my recipes with y'all. I'll see you here next time. Goodbye, mwah, and very good taste. Hasta la vista.